All right. So we have one lucky student who's going to be able to chat with me, and hopefully other people will pop in. But I'm going to go over real quick just the requirements for this week, and then jump into any questions and answers after a quick little overview of the final project. Okay, so for this week, you guys have your Hotline Veterans Press 1 documentary, DVD, and worksheet. You also need to read the Write Text Political Issues. Remember that PDF is in eCourseware, and there's an associated worksheet about political issues in health communication. And then you've got your Future of Health Communication. There's 2 TED Talks. I think one is 12 and one is 15 minutes, so it shouldn't take you that long. And just a quick tie it all together kind of discussion post. So hopefully that shouldn't be too much for you guys, in addition to trying to hammer out whatever it is that your project is going to be. Remember, you have 3 paths. I think I can share my screen. Let's try. This makes me feel 600 years old. Okay. So you should be able to see that. Just going over, like I said, this week is Hotline Veterans Press 1, Chapter 12. I did get rid of that discussion post. That's why it's crossed through. And then Chapter 15. Your final project presentations are due a week from today. Kind of a short amount of time if you have not started yet. So I really, really hope that you've already started. But you will also see that the presentations and the feedback and the actual response are due on different days. It's kind of a grad school way to do things so that you guys have a little bit more time to take whatever feedback both your peers and myself give you from the presentation and then apply that back to the written project so that the project, which is worth 200 points, gets kind of the benefit of that 50-point presentation. So rarely have I had people who take the feedback that they've gotten in the presentation have the same feedback on their actual project. Usually people will apply it and then I won't have to take points off, or I can award points for that now that they know. So your final written project is due May 1st, 11:59 p.m. I know it says 11:49, but I extended it in the Dropbox. So your actual presentation is going to be the next upcoming issue, and that's what I wanted to talk about today. So let's go over just super quickly. Nope, that's not what I wanted. Content. So in the final project folder, you have the final project assignment sheet, which you all should have seen. I think a lot of you missed actually looking at this maybe all the way through because there were some directions at the bottom that I'll get to. So remember, you can pick one of 3 paths. Path A is your mass media campaign. So that's something where you see people talking about how you can get HIV from a toilet seat, but you know that that's not true. So you want to correct that misconception, correct that information. So you're going to create a campaign that says you cannot get HIV from a toilet seat, or you may think that you can get HIV from a toilet seat, but you can't, and here's why. So those like kind of like truth campaigns that we've been talking about in class. So you get to do that, and however you want to do it is totally fine with me, and then there's the associated written write-up, all the instructions in there. Additionally, you can do path B, which is a research proposal. The difference between actually doing research and proposing research is that in the proposal, you're just saying, I could do this research, and if I was going to, this is how I'm going to do it. You're not actually going to go through and do the research. So let's say that your proposal is, I want to test and see if only using green colored font on health materials increases people's health literacy on the subject. You get to write up all of that. If I was going to do this, I would pick this kind of human that I'm going to test. This is how many people I would test. This is why I would test that many people. this is some of the background information that says that green font is really, really useful according to so-and-so authors. And this is what it will do for the field if I learn something about this. Done. You don't actually go out and say, hey, best friend, will you look at this green font? And then I'm going to test you on your knowledge of the subject. You don't do any testing. You're just saying, if I were going to do this, this is what I would do. So you've got the write-up associated there. And then finally, where did I scroll too quickly? Oh, no. That's why nobody picked Path C, because I didn't update this. Okay, well, I'm gonna update this for you guys today if you wanna switch it. But right now it looks like only Path A or Path B. That makes so much more sense. Okay, so actually, I'm gonna do that for you right now because this is super important. Final project, bear with me. This is why technology sucks sometimes. No, not that one. Okay, I found it. Okay, so let's try this again, round two. Share screen, here we go. Okay, cool. So same thing, path A, path B. Path C is you guys get the opportunity to talk about what's happening in the world right now with COVID-19. There really isn't a precedent for this project because I haven't done this project before. Obviously, this is just me letting you use this class to talk about stuff that's happening right now. So however it is that you want to do this, if you want to make a flyer, if you want to do a collage, if you want to do a video, does not matter to me. Could be anything, but you might answer questions on like, what's the timeline of the current pandemic? How was health communication used? Was it used effectively or not effectively? And then you have your write up for that as well. So the presentation needs to be on YouTube for me. There needs to be a link, and I'm going to go over how to turn that all in momentarily. But basically, I just want you to talk to me for 5 minutes. Just tell me what it is that you did for your project, why you made these decisions, any important findings, anything significant, anything weird that popped up. Just tell me how you have applied health communication to this project. What did you get out of this class? Essentially, it's a way for you to wrap up what you've learned in this course. A couple of tips for the presentation. I want you guys to name your YouTube video, your name and the topic, so that when you have people going to give feedback, they can find you in our class playlist. Additionally, it's really important to remember to cite anything orally that you have cited in your actual presentation. So let's say you found an article that talked about how green font helps health literacy. It doesn't, this is me making it up, but green font helps health literacy. And in your paper, you have parentheses, Brockman 2020, close parentheses. Out loud, when you're giving your presentation, you would have to say, according to Brockman, green font really helps with health literacy. Additionally, making sure that you don't necessarily have to say the path. That should be pretty apparent for us just by you talking about what it is, but make sure that that's really clear. You don't have to be on camera the entire time. Like, I am not on camera right now. You guys can see me scrolling through this. You may want to use Zoom to record that. And so you may share your screen, and your screen may have your PowerPoint or your campaign image on it, and you may just hear the audio over it, like right now. That's fine too. I would like you to be on camera at some point though, maybe like the introduction and the conclusion. You've got all ready and just you, not necessarily you sharing your screen, but it doesn't have to be the entire time. So for the presentation, remember, it's just 5 minutes, essentially just breathe, tell me what you did, use it as an opportunity to show me how you learned what you learned in this course. And these are the directions that I thought that most of you did not see. Now I understand that it's my fault and that I did not post the correct assignment sheet. So I'll send out an email today reminding people that they can alter this. But there is a discussion board on eCourseware. Let's go to that. That has a couple of questions already that are really helpful. Final project discussion, and you'll see that I've answered some of those questions already. So things like, is it a bibliography or something different? Does it need to be in that format, etc.? Can you do path A by yourself? What's the deadline for the presentation and the paper? That one I kind of answered earlier, but it's an excellent question because it's going to be different, right? How do you send out your handouts to your classmates if you decide to go that way with your visual aid? Lots of good questions here. So if you have additional questions and you don't see the question on the discussion board already, you can either post a new discussion board thread or you can send me an email, maybe if it's more specific. That's a good place to do that. Additionally, so let's say you are all done. We'll go to Dropbox first. You've recorded your presentation. Your paper is a solid rough draft. You're going to go to the Dropbox, and all of any handouts that you have, your Word document with the link to your YouTube video, because it should be the link to the YouTube video in a Word document, submit into this folder. All of that is going to go into the final campaign image/presentation folder. So that's going to be any PowerPoints, any handouts, any campaign images, whatever you did for your presentation goes into the presentation folder. Then on May 1st, after you've had time to get feedback, your actual paper is going to go in the final campaign Dropbox folder here. And remember that this folder is plagiarism checker enabled. So really, really pay attention to any information that you did not make up in your own brain or that is not common knowledge, like the sky is blue, needs a citation actually in the text. So in that sentence that you say in your paper, and then also it needs to be on your references page as well. So make sure that you're paying extra special attention to APA format. And if you need help with that, you can either reach out to me or the Purdue OWL has a link in your helpful links folder. So you have completed your presentation, you've put it in here, it's officially past the deadline. So now you get to go for that next week to your discussion folder. And you're going to go down to final project feedback group. I've got all of the instructions in the main folder, but you can also click on it and it's going to take you, mine's going to look a little different, but it's going to take you to your specific group. So it will be like group 1, group 2, group 3, group 4, group 5. So you only have to do 5 responses for feedback. So you and your group members will each watch each other's presentations and then give 1 positive comment on content, 1 constructive comment on content. If you want to say something about delivery, you can. I feel like that's usually really easy for students, especially who have taken public speaking, to say, hey, your vocal fillers were a little intense, or your visual aid was a little sloppy, or I really loved how you used your visual aid. So you can include that, that's not required. I do want one question, comment, or concern too. So at a minimum, one positive, one construction, and one question, comment, or concern. And this is going in your attendance participation grade on eCourseWare. You will have, it's not linked yet, obviously, because I don't have the presentations yet, but right here, I will add a link to the YouTube class playlist. So in theory, you could watch everybody's if you wanted to, but you are only required to watch the ones that are assigned to your group. Additionally, it might look something like this if, like, let's say we don't have Ryan in this class, but let's say Ryan didn't do the project or you can't open the video link for some reason, then just put that in the feedback for me, and then everyone else maybe has a quick paragraph. So that fake feedback, although I did use examples of feedback I've given historically, so you may want to look through it anyway, took me maybe 3 minutes each. So it really should not take you guys that long to get through your final project feedback. And that's due that next week if we go back to the calendar and see eCourseWare. So you've got your final project presentations due on the 20th. That's a week from today. Your feedback is due a week later. So that's basically all you're doing next week is working on class feedback for your group members and then applying that feedback to your actual presentation, which is then due that Friday. Okay, so I'm gonna stop sharing. Okay, and I only have one student here with me, so I'm going to stop recording and see if they have any questions. But if you guys have questions or if somebody else pops on later, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to talk about things like, I don't know how to write a research question, or I don't know the best way to assess if my campaign was effective or not. Or I'm feeling really overwhelmed talking about the current pandemic. So how can I take a more objective approach to this project, etc. I get that we all have a lot going on. So please, please, please reach out with any questions because I have done this before, obviously, and I am 100% happy to help however I can. So reach out, and otherwise, I look forward to watching your presentations next week. I am stopping recording.